Throughout the 19th century, new technologies such as steam power and railways started to affect the way that the world produced its goods. Some call this an industrial revolution. In the late 19th and 20th centuries, interchangeable parts in the assembly line made mass production possible and marked the second big leap forward in manufacturing. Since long before these industrial revolutions, we have had a singular idea about how to make and manufacture products. We take raw materials and cut them down and shape them into parts and assemble the parts. But what if this doesn't have to be the case anymore? What if we could work from the bottom up? What if we could make a finished product that had no wasted material and no scrap left over? Now, in 2014, there's a possibility for another big step, a third industrial revolution perhaps. This is thanks to the innovative technology that many know as 3D printing. 3D printing could spur the next industrial revolution because it is an additive process. 3D printers add on and stack up material layer by layer. 3D printers can even use genetic material to make organ tissue and skin that matches the DNA of the patient who needs a new liver, kidney, or skin transplant. Current manufacturing standards are subtractive, which means machines take away material layer by layer, but this results in more waste. If 3D printing takes over the manufacturing industry, would all the processes be centralized? Would most of the work be done by 3D printers? If this becomes the case, if a designer or manufacturer can just hit print, if there's no longer a need for big manufacturing plants, what happens to the workers? What happens to the individuals who previously made the products? Do they no longer have jobs? Should they find other work? What should they prepare for? What should I, a mechanical engineering student, prepare for? If 3D printers took over the industry, that doesn't leave a lot of room for workers. Or does it? The main uses for 3D printers right now is in prototyping. Businesses can use 3D printers to create prototypes of their products in hours instead of weeks. 3D printers are changing the prototyping industry because that is what the current level of technology is limited to. The fully finished products that are created by 3D printers are lacking in strength and precision. The strongest and most precise mechanical component that a 3D printer can make pales in comparison to those made by a subtractive process. 3D printers are simply not at the level of technological advancement needed to overthrow the old-fashioned way of manufacturing. At least not yet. We, the human race, all of us, have seen how quickly we can advance, technologically speaking, and we're only getting better. It took humanity over 400 years to advance from the printing press to the typewriter, but barely 40 years to go from the first idea of being able to talk on the phone outside of your house to everyone carrying a supercomputer in their pocket. We know technology advances quickly. That's why it's not so far-fetched to think that maybe 3D printers will be able to make anything as effectively and more efficiently than any huge manufacturing plant could. Maybe it's 5, maybe 10, maybe 50 years down the road. No one is really sure, but it does seem inevitable. This brings me back to the question. When the 3D printing takeover does happen, what happens to the current workers? Well, this has happened before. Many times, actually. They say history is bound to repeat itself, and it is in a sense here. When the steam and internal combustion engines were invented, the horse and buggy industry took a pretty big loss. And I'm sure candle makers lost a lot of business with the invention of the light bulb. But the beauty of it is that there wasn't a massive depression, nor an abundance of displaced workers. With each benchmark and innovation, there were equal or more jobs created by the technology than the number of those lost. With 3D printing, there may be a few jobs lost, but not very many. Why? Because manufacturers will use it as another tool at their disposal as the technology advances, not necessarily to replace workers. In an interview with Professor Latham, a mechanical engineering professor at Syracuse University, as well as an expert in the manufacturing industry with over 30 years of experience, Latham said that if 3D printers do become a common device in manufacturing, most of the jobs that 3D printing would affect would result in more of a shift in job skill than job loss. So, should laborers in the manufacturing industry fear the future of 3D printing? No, they shouldn't, as long as they're willing to adapt. Change is inevitable, and it's only an issue if you can't work with what's new. Just don't be afraid of a little change. An old dog shouldn't be afraid to learn some new tricks. Thank you.